Welcome to the Rum Revival. My name is Arminder, and today is another Sample Sunday. What happens on Sample Sundays? Well, that's when I take a sample of rum sent to me by a brand, or a friend or family member, or a person on the internet, and try that rum for the very first time in front of you. I explain a little bit about the rum and give you my off-the-cuff casual tasting notes. Basically, these are my initial first impressions. So, what am I drinking today? Well, I've got 4 Oaxacan rum samples from a new brand that is now popping up in the US market, Alambique Serrano. Quick thank you to the brand's importer, PM Spirits, for sending over these samples. The brand is brought to you by the same folks behind Cañada Rum and the agave spirits brand Cinco Sentidos. The rum for this brand is produced by the Krassel family within the village of Santa María Tlalixtac, which is a fairly remote region located within the cloud forest of Oaxaca in Mexico. Brothers Rommel, Axel, William, and Isidoro are continuing the operations and legacy first built by their grandfather Max, who left Germany for Mexico at the start of World War I. Max eventually made his way to this particular region of Oaxaca and started distilling cane juice rum. He even designed and built his own calm still that is still being used today by the family. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this actually isn't the first time I'm trying these rums. I tried some or maybe all of them a couple weeks back at LA Rum Fest. However, let's be real, who actually remembers any of the tasting notes from the rums that they've tried at a festival? I tried these towards the end of the night, and by that point my palate was completely blown, and there were so many people around me and noises distracting me while I was trying to drink these, so I wasn't really paying attention. And I'm not gonna lie, I might have been a little to a lot bit buzzed, so yeah. Given all that, I'm gonna say that this is my actual first time. So in total, I have 4 samples. The first 2 are 2 different blends, and the last 2 are 2 single cask releases. For all 4 of these, they use the same cane varietal, which is the Java varietal that grows on steep hillsides between 2,500 to 4,000 feet above sea level. The canes are hand harvested and transported by horse or mule to a nearby mobile mill that crushes and extracts the juice from the cane. The juice is then filtered and transported by a series of hoses down the hillsides to the distillery. Now, fermentation of the cane juice takes place either in stainless steel tanks if it's ultimately going to be distilled on a column still, or it takes place in pine vats if it's going to be distilled on a pot still. In either case, fermentation is completely wild and lasts between 6 to 10 days. Let's give these a try. So let's start off with the first sample. It's called blend number 1, and it's a blend of 2 different rums. The first rum in the blend is a calm still rum aged 30 months in ex-cognac casks, and then the second rum in the blend is a pot still rum aged 9 months in new French oak casks and then rested 8 months. And the ABV is 55.6%. Yeah, I get like a dry wood and almond kind of note. Yeah, there's a lot of wood on the aroma. Given that this is kind of in the moment, I can't really kind of articulate what kind of wood, but it's very kind of dry wood, if that makes sense. And there's definitely a little bit of spice on the nose as well, like a dry spice. Everything just feels so dry about the aroma here. Dry spice, dry wood. But I am getting like a touch of orange peel as well. Could be a little bit of cinnamon as well. All right, let's give it a sip. Whoa. Whew. Yeah, buddy. Wow. That was a really amazing first sip. A lot going on. Okay, yeah. Very dry. What I was picking up on the nose, I'm getting on the palate. A very kind of strong, some sort of dry wood and dry spices, a little bit of baking spices, but not like, it's not a mix of baking spices. Maybe it's a little bit of like dried up cinnamon, almost like a cinnamon stick, you know, that, not that I'm chewing on cinnamon sticks, but I feel like that woody note that you get maybe if you were to chew on a cinnamon stick. Again, haven't never really chewed on a cinnamon stick, but I feel like that's the flavor I'm kind of getting here. There's a little bit of like really dried fruits in here as well. Yeah, I really like that. I like how dry and woodsy, not even woody, but like woodsy. There's presumably a difference in that. Woodsy, I guess, implies not just wood, but maybe being out in the woods too. Not like in a dry wood, maybe on a hot kind of summer day, and that being around a lot of wood. And I'm saying all this as someone who actually hasn't spent really much time in nature, who actually doesn't like going on hiking or camping, so I don't know what I'm really talking about, but yeah, this is my perception of woodsy and being outdoors and kind of being around kind of dry wood. Yeah, that's cool. So let's move on to the next one. It's blend number 2, and just like the first one, it's a blend of 2 different rums. The first rum is a pot still rum aged 9 months in highly toasted new French oak, and then it's rested 9 months kind of like in a neutral container. The second rum is an unaged pot still rum, and the ABV is 64.1%. Okay, initially on the nose, I am getting a lot more cane juice, a lot more of a kind of a green note compared to the first blend. Yeah, I get a little note of like chocolate, not a strong note, just a little bit. Underlying that though, there is the cane juice and a little bit of greenness. You know what I'm also picking up is a little bit of like a vegetal note, less kind of green grassy and more vegetal, for lack of a better word. It's not, maybe it's a little tomato, but it's not that actually. It's something more than that. I'm not quite sure exactly what. All right, let's give it a sip. Woo! Wow. That initial first sip, I get like jalapeno, like some sort of like pepper. Yeah. Wow, that's all I got. And definitely had a lot more heat than the first one, and I think the ABVs are, yeah, right, because the one I'm drinking is 64.1%, the other one was 55.6, a lot more perceptible on the palate. Hopefully my palate's gotten used to all that alcohol that came in and that jalapeno note. Let's see what it does now. Now though, I'm getting a little like caramel sweetness. It's a lot sweeter than that initial first sip. That combination of that vegetal note with the high alcohol, to me, feels like I'm eating some sort of pepper, like maybe a jalapeno. Oh man, it's really good. But it's jalapeno wrapped in caramel. Yeah, let's go with that. That's actually really cool. So the third sample is called Single Cask Number 1, and the rum in this cask was double distilled on a pot still, aged 9 months in virgin French oak, and then rested 8 months. And by rested, my understanding is that it was rested in glass demijohns, like an open top glass demijohn. So anytime there's any kind of resting happening with some of these rums, that's where it's in, kind of a neutral glass vessel. Oh, and the ABV is a easy breezy 70.3% ABV. Let's give it a try. Not really getting a whole lot, at least initially on the nose. For 70.3% ABV, it's a little kind of shy in terms of the nose. Whew, okay. Now the 70% is kind of hitting my nose. Yeah, I can smell the fumes. Honestly, the thing that I'm kind of getting on the nose is like a little bit of minerality, minerality. Some sort of like darker fruit note that's there as well. Maybe a little chocolate on this as well. Yeah, but it took a while to get those. All right, let's give it a sip. Woo! Yeah, that 70% doesn't hit you right away, but a little more than halfway through, then the intensity comes through. Still getting that kind of jalapeno or pepper note that I got in the second one. Kind of getting that here and now as well. Well, I'm getting a little sweetness now. Yeah, dry kind of pepper, a little bit of a vegetal note. I'm getting, I think, a little bit of like dried mint on this. There's a little bit of like dry spice here as well I'm picking up. You know, after that first sip, each subsequent sip has been relatively easy drinking for that 70% ABV. My God. All right, we're gonna try the fourth and final sample. It's called Single Cask Number 2, and the rum in this cask was distilled on a calm still. It was aged 15 months in American oak casks and then bottled at 53.1% ABV. I'm getting like a little bit of apple, like is it apple or apple juice, or maybe like actually a little bit of like apple cider vinegar. Interesting. There's a little sweetness too, maybe like a little touch of vanilla. All right, let's give it a try. There's a lot going on there, like in different places. on the palate. The initial thing that really on the finish, cough syrup or cough medicine. It's a little weird. Let's just chalk it up to the first sip and let's see kind of how it progresses. So there is a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of that vegetal pepper note that I've kind of gotten the previous two. There's definitely a bit of nuttiness on the palate here. I get a little bit of that apple on the palate as well. I think in subsequent sips that cough medicine note kind of is downplayed a little bit, but those first initial sips, it took some getting used to. I think of the two casks, I might prefer the first one, though to be fair, the first one has pot still rum and is 70% ABV. Well, there you go. That's my first experience with the rums from Alambique Serrano. You know, if I had to pick a favorite, honestly, it might be blend number one, I think. Now, part of that might be because the other three kind of, I feel like, are playing in the same sort of space a little bit. And number one is the one that kind of is a little different, so it stands out a little bit more. So to be fair, you know, initial first impressions, that's the one that I kind of remember. Really like that dry, woodsy, dry spice note. Now, I'm not getting a lot of green or vegetal notes on that first one, and generally I'm someone who actually likes that kind of stuff, so that's weird, but fascinated with these other three of that kind of pepper note, that jalapeno note with the high alcohol. I think that's really, really cool. Definitely gonna spend more time with these, dive in a little bit more, and really spend some time with the rum. So maybe in the future I might do more in-depth individual reviews or kind of one larger video for all four. We'll see. But again, really exciting to get more cane juice rums out there, more quality aged cane juice rums, especially from Mexico. I feel like we've gotten a lot of great cane juice rums from Mexico over the last couple of years, so I'm excited to get more of that, and I hope that becomes a regular thing. I think it's so cool. I mean, a lot of the discussion and dialogue of cane juice rums gets kind of dominated by the Caribbean, and rightfully so. There's Haitian Clarins and amazing rum agricoles and whatnot, but clearly Mexico is doing some fascinating stuff, and they've been doing amazing stuff forever, and we're only now kind of getting hip to it maybe, but I think getting quality aged product like this is really, really cool. Well, that's that for Sample Sundays. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you next time. Woo, got a little heartburn for drinking a lot of these over 50% ABV rums. Whew, jeez.